you open a restaurant, you would assume that you start marketing the restaurant after the restaurant is open, right? That's when you start creating content, feature the food and the insides of the restaurant, right? Right? Wrong. Now, which is why we invited our next speaker, who started marketing his restaurant 6 months before it opened. And by the time it was launched, the restaurant was fully booked for months and not even open. They weren't even able to be open to the public. Okay, would you like to learn how he did this? The magic word here is story branding. Now, this speaker believes that everyone has a story to tell. And through his unique art of story branding, he helps entrepreneurs find their message and craft their story, turning their scars into stars, their mess into powerful messages. So because every story is significant and that their story needs to stop being a mystery. So ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Yeah? All right, please welcome Derrick Chu.
I believe that everyone has a story to tell. I was born with a misplaced tongue. And that means to say that the placement of my tongue is different from others. And this caused a lisp in my speech. Growing up, as a result of my speech impediment, I was often bullied, teased, and silenced. And that was the worst feeling ever. I was shut out and shut down, and I allowed my environment to shape who I was. But I didn't realize how powerful my story was. Now, having broken through from my struggles, today I help entrepreneurs and business owners find their voice, tell their story, and craft their message. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a complete honor to be here with all of you at CXO Conference 2019. My name is Derrick, and I'm a story brander. In my presentation, I'm just going to share with you a little bit. Some of you may not know what the term story branding is, so this is my definition of what story branding is. Story branding is the art of positioning your brand through telling your story. Story branding is the art of positioning your brand through telling your story.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality.
So the only thing that is more extraordinary than the music is his story.
I enjoyed the show.
And just by a show of hands, how many of you have seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody? Yes? And how many of you are fans of Freddie Mercury and Queen? Yes? Thank you. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Freddie Mercury as the framing device. Yeah? And I'm going to share with you 3 things in my presentation that we can learn from Freddie Mercury about story branding. Okay? So we're just going to skip the trailer and move straight right into the first point. Freddie Mercury was born Farouk Basara. And he knew that he needed a very strong brand. And, Farouk Basara doesn't sound very catchy as a stage name. And so in 1970, when he joined Queen, the band, he changed his name to Freddie Mercury. And Freddie grew up as a misfit, a despised minority member with 4 extra molars crowding his mouth with that signature, feature that he has. And he grew up being despised, being bullied because of how he looked. But he knew one thing. He knew he had to embrace who he was, because he realized that other misfits needed a role model. And he could be that role model. And so he made it his brand to be a role model for the misfits, to be an answer, to be an inspiration to other misfits. And that's the first point I want to share with all of you, that every successful brand has a reason for existence. So Freddie had an existence, has a reason for existence. Queen had a reason for existence because his music was targeted at the misfits, people like him, his target audience, and he knew them very well. and that's why he was able to have that massive following. So this is God Mama. We are a modern Peranakan restaurant in Singapore. And just allow me to share with you our story. God Mama is founded by Christina, the woman in purple, and that is her godmother and mother. And Godma and Ma used to be Peranakan chefs in the heydays, and they're very well known for their signature egg skin popiah. And Christina wanted to preserve this family recipe and this legacy, and so she decided to pay tribute to Godma and Ma, and hence the name God Mama. So I met Christina at a business event. She found out that I was a branding consultant and an F&B consultant, so she hired me to be a consultant to open her restaurant, and also along the way make me a partner in the restaurant. But here's the thing, I'm Peranakan, she is Peranakan, and we love to eat, but we don't know how to cook. So we knew we needed to find a chef, right? And so we found a chef in Fred, the guy in white, and we realized that, so he's a Peranakan chef, young generation, the next generation Peranakan chef, and we realized that he learned his cooking from his grandmother and mother, and his story kind of mirrors the story of Christina's and her godma and mother. And so we started creating that mission for God Mama, which is wanting to firstly preserve our Peranakan culture, and secondly, to propagate the Peranakan cuisine to the masses, making Peranakan food and cuisine accessible to all, and hence the tagline, from Godma and Ma to Christina, Christina to our chef, chef to our dining table, and our customers, our diners, from our hands to yours. And that is the story of God Mama and why we exist. So I want to ask you this question today. Why does your business exist? Because your customers don't care what you do. They care why you do what you do. And if you know your why, or if you have discovered your why, then you really need to share this, shout it out to your customers, make all of them aware, because people today don't buy products and services. They are looking for a cause to support, a mission to champion. So understand why you do what you do. Freddie grew up in a traditional religious Persian family, and his very strict parents. If you watch the film, you would know. And he was caged up. And so growing up, he turned to music as his escape. And as a misfit and going through all that pressures, he understood fellow misfits, rebels, the crazy ones, the round pegs in square holes. And he began to connect with them on that level, writing music to express how he truly feels. And as a result, he was able to amass all this massive cult following because he was able to speak their language. He was their voice, their mouthpiece, and he was able to connect with them. And so the second point that I want to share with you is every successful business is solving a need or creating an opportunity for a specific target market. This is Funan Mall. This is in Singapore. This is where God Mama is. If you're familiar with the mall, it used to be an IT mall, quite famous in Singapore, and then the developers decided to tear it down and rebuild it, just like everything in Singapore. And Funan is centrally located in the CBD area of Singapore. So we're surrounded by offices and corporate and government bodies, and it's in the City Hall area. So in the weekdays, that is our core group of people that come. And then Funan is also the latest lifestyle destination in Singapore. So it has many, many hipsters cafe. It has an indoor swimming pool, a rock climbing wall, and all your very fancy and block shop that is very famous online. And it also houses a theater. Well-known theater company in Singapore called Wild Rice is housed in Funan, as well as a cinema. So if you're familiar with the area, the entire City Hall area in Singapore, or in this area, does not have a cinema. So Funan is the only mall in this entire area that has a cinema. And so studying the entire demographics and targeting of our mall, we are smack right in the middle, on level 4, and these are the 3 target groups that we want to target. So understanding our target market, we started crafting our menu offering. So for lunch, on weekdays, we do a set lunch deal for officers. They just come in and choose a main, and then they get their set, and then out they go within an hour going back to work. For dinner, it's more slow-paced, so it's an a la carte dinner menu. But we also do have a 3-course menu targeting at the theater-goers and the movie-goers, so that they come in, get their meals, and then they're out for the show. And on weekends, to target the millennial crowd, the next generation, we've created a more Peranakan brunch menu where we want to make Peranakan food accessible to them. And so this is the creation of the menu offering that we created because we understood our target market. And as a result, God Mama is fully booked for the next 3 months, and we were also the top performing restaurant in Funan. Thank you. Thank you. So my question to you is, who is your target audience? Because if you're targeting everybody, you're targeting nobody. So this is the common mistake that I realize a lot of young entrepreneurs that I consult make. So they're all very, very passionate about their product, their service, their business, and they could create and develop and spend a lot of time doing that. And then what they do is after they create that product and that service, they then go find their customers and their clients and just dumb it down and then hard sell them to buy that product and services. But can I ask you to consider finding your target audience first, finding your clients first, asking and finding out what their pain, their problem, their need is, then creating your product, your services, and your business. Because that way, there will be a message to market match. Finally, Freddie wrote Bohemian Rhapsody in 1975. And he was way ahead of his time. Bohemian Rhapsody was an ambitious 6-minute suite with a mismatch of all these various genre of music, including a ballad, an operatic passage, a hard rock section, and a reflective ballad ending. And here's the thing, it was too long. No producer wanted to take that song because no radio station will play a song more than 3 minutes. But here's the thing, Freddie did not give up. He persevered and he made sure that he was able to see his vision come true. And in fact, one of his band members, Brian May, once said that Freddie was a very complex person, flippant and funny on the surface, but he concealed insecurities and problems in squaring up his life with his childhood. He never explained the lyrics, but I think he put a lot of himself in that song. And those of you who are familiar with Bohemian Rhapsody, you know a little bit about the background of the song. It is essentially his story and his anthem. And he persevered on to tell his story. And as a result, Bohemian Rhapsody topped the UK single charts for 9 weeks, sold over 6 million copies, and was the best-selling singles of all time because Freddie persevered. So here's the thing. Point 3 is that your unique story positioning or your USP will differentiate you and stand out from your competition. Persevere, be courageous, and be brave and tell your story, because that will differentiate you and make you stand out from your competition. Your competitors can copy everything about your brand, about your business, but the one thing that they cannot copy is your story. And as a result of sharing your story on God Mama, we were able to gather press coverage even before opening. This is on Business Times and on Straits Times, 2 major publications in Singapore, even before opening. We were also able to get rave reviews on Facebook. So what happened was we did a whole string of private dining before we opened. And we got people to come and blog about it, talk about it, share on Facebook, give us their reviews and stuff, and share with their friends. And as a result of these postings, we got a whole lot of interest, and we even set up a kind of a page where people can do their priority booking on the waiting list. And as a result, we kind of filled the entire restaurant for the whole month, even before we opened. And also was able to get press coverage on my personal profiling because we told our story even before opening. So that's on our national TV, radio, and newspaper. Now here's the thing. A lot of people have been talking about telling stories, right? And how do we go about telling it? So I've now come to the end of my presentation, but I'd like to share with you firstly one of my favorite quotes by one of my mentors, Marshall Thurber. And he is one of the gurus who taught the likes of Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki. And he says this, you cannot use the methods of yesterday to compete in the economies of tomorrow. And that is really, really true, because if you're using the same methods, the traditional methods of marketing and running a business of yesterday to compete in today's fast-paced digital age, you are going to be left behind. And the only way I know and I feel that one can differentiate yourself is through telling your story. And this is something I'm very passionate about. And now I'd like to just give you a bonus before I end my presentation. Anyone would like that bonus? Yes? No one sounds excited. Anyone want that bonus? All right, so I'm going to share with you 3 things or a 3-step process of how you can craft your story brand. Is that okay? Yeah? I teach this at my StoryBranding Masterclass, but I'm going to give it to you all today for free. Okay? So these are the 3 things I'm going to do. So I actually shared this in the very beginning of the entire presentation. You want to begin your first paragraph with, I believe. And you believe a universal truth. So I believe that everybody has a story to tell. I believe that every voice deserves to be heard. I believe that every child deserves a quality education. So something that you believe that is a universal truth that is obviously related to your business, right? So that's the first paragraph. The second paragraph, you want to start with growing up. And this is where you start telling your story, your zero to hero story, your struggles, your failures, your pain. Why? Because when you open up yourself, when you become vulnerable, when you bear it all to your audience, people connect with you emotionally. And people buy with emotions, then justify with logic. And you want to connect with them emotionally. And in the third paragraph, you want to share, having broken through from that struggle, having broken through from that pain, from the failures, today you help who? Your target audience that we talk about in point 2. You help who? Your target audience achieve what? Which is what you do. So for me, having broken through from my struggles, today I help entrepreneurs, business owners, people like you, with families like yours, find their voice, craft their message, tell their stories, just like this recent batch of graduates of my StoryBranding Masterclass, crafting 21 stories, 21 scars to stars. That's the 3 point in crafting your story brand. Time is limited, so I don't have a lot of time to share the full gamut of it, but this is what I want to do for you. I have actually a video training that I'd like to send to all of you. So if you can kindly take out your phones and just take a photo of this link. And what I'll do is if you leave your details behind, I'm going to be sending you a video training to expand on how we're going to build these 3 points of story branding and how you're going to take that further to brand your business, differentiate yourself, and rise above your entire competition. With that, thank you so much for being a great audience. My name is Derrick, StoryBrander, and hope to look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Popcorn!